Welcome back to Guna Pavilion, and today we are previewing the Arsenal versus PSG monumental clash in the Champions League semi-final, which is only just 48 hours away. So we're going to break down how Arsenal got here, the challenges ahead, the tactical approach that Mikel Arteta should take in order for us to take a strong lead to Paris. But before I go on, let me just ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all of you guys who are jumping on the channel as well. And let's talk about this Arsenal versus PSG in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Let's go. Okay, so Arsenal's part to the Champions League semi-final has been nothing short of brilliance. New format this season of the Champions League. Arsenal finished third in the league stages, dispatching the likes of PSG, having great results against PSV as well, with one loss against Inter Milan, which leaves a sour taste in Arsenal fans' mouth because in that game we absolutely dominated. We got hit with a punch, but be that as it may, we're able to dispatch Real Madrid in an absolutely convincing fashion, 5-1 in the quarterfinals. So here we are now, Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-final, a team that we've met before in the league format, and we won 2-0 at the Emirates. So what is going to happen? What do I think is going to happen in this? But first of all, let's just talk about a couple of things, right? Let's get it out there. Thomas Partey's suspension. It was a careless yellow, let's be honest, against Madrid. There was no need for that. They should have been told they were all on a yellow card. And it wasn't like it was in the heat of a tackle. If he was stopping a goal threatening action, then you can say, okay, fair enough. But this was an absolutely needless card to have for Thomas Partey. So he's gonna miss the first leg. Adding to the trouble, Jorginho is also sidelined. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to that game. So Arteta now has some big decisions to make. Does Rice sit deeper? Something that I don't love because I think we need Rice playing in the way that he's been playing. So that's off. Does Miles Lewis Kelly come into that midfield? And again, I don't like that option as much because Miles Lewis Kelly has been playing very well at left back. He did a phenomenal job against Rodrigo in the quarterfinals game. So who else are your options? You've got Merino. I don't mind Merino, and I think Mikel Arteta was experimenting with that, in the last couple of games in the Premier League, and starting with Trossard, and Trossard did score goals. So it does make you think whether that's enough to convince Mikel Arteta to then bring Merino into the midfield. Hopefully, we can score a couple of goals in the first half. Then you can take Merino up front and he can help in holding up the ball and things like that. So that could be an option. The one option that I do actually like is Ricardo Calafiori playing in that number 6 role. That could be something that could potentially work in this game. But let me know what you guys think. With Partey absent because he's been an absolute monster in this game, who do you think should actually step into the midfield? What should Mikel Arteta do so that we don't actually lose momentum? Actually, by solving one problem, we don't end up creating another problem somewhere else. So let me know what you think. All right. So Paris Saint-Germain are no joke, right? Let's be clear, right? Even without Mbappe, people argue that they are more of a team actually than they were before now. And under Luis Enrique, they've really, really evolved. They have, without any noticeable superstar, they seem to play a lot for each other. I was watching the game against PSG and Nice, and I hate those kind of games because PSG lost. And it can give you a false sense of security because they lost in that game. to think that they are not a dangerous team. There were a lot of things that I didn't see in that game, and that could also be a ruse by the manager to try and hide things, hoping that Arsenal would only watch the last game. So I would expect the Arsenal, scouting team and the backroom staff to do their homework and not just watch that last game, but watch some other the games that PSG has played. But they have a fluid system that goes from 4-3-3 to 3-2-5 formation, and that makes them very deadly in the wings. You've seen a lot of analysis talk about what PSG do in the wings. Now, our fullbacks, especially Miles Lewis Kelly or Calafiori, if he must start, have to make sure that they also have a discipline, not commit too much. I think that if we impose ourselves very, very early, I think it can set the tone for how the wing play for PSG should look like. But if we sort of sit back and give the initiative to them, I think we could actually get them into a momentum that might make it very, very difficult for us. So for me, I think that's how you should approach that game going into the first leg at the Emirates. Now, of course, when Arsenal is a topic of conversation, if Arsenal is playing, a game and the build up to that game, there's always lots of negative reaction. I've heard stuff like Arsenal aren't ready, too young, PSG have too much European pedigree. All of that may be true. Um, but I think being an underdog is not a bad thing. We've been underdogs in the quarterfinals and see where that took us. So I just think that we just have to keep proving ourselves. Arsenal, let's be honest, we haven't done anything in Europe other than 2006 when we got to the finals and we lost. But since then, this is a title that we haven't won. So I think whatever people say, that's all up to them. Let's Arsenal, we just continue to do what we have always done, which is be ourselves, play our games, and let the key players in the squad absolutely shine. So, 48 hours to kick off. What should Arsenal do? I think we need a first leg home advantage. I think it goes without saying. In the knockout stages, a huge first leg advantage has always set the zone and set the scene for the second leg. And it's not because you want to survive Paris, but you also want to make that second leg almost irrelevant, which was what it was. I know there was a lot of build up about Reton Dada and Reton Tata and something like that with Real Madrid. But if you go with a convincing lead into that second leg, then you've got options about how you play that game. And let's be honest, Arsenal have nothing to play for right now other than the Champions League. Liverpool have won the league today. I didn't really watch it because I knew they were going to win against Spurs. It's kind of deja vu as I digress a little bit about Spurs and not even putting up a fight. I looked at the score and it was 5-1. I mean, how embarrassing is that? But anyway, that's another story. I think for me, against PSG in this first leg, the key point is we start fast. We start past set the tempo. We exploit PSG's fullback. They're not as good as Arsenal's fullback. I think that is a definite. PSG's strength is up front. So what do we want to do? We want to get them running the other way towards their defense because that's how we should play this game, especially at the Emirates. Rice must dominate the midfield. I think that goes without saying. We need another monstrous performance from Declan Rice, and I think he will deliver. I think this is reminding me of what he did for West Ham, and if he can do it for West Ham, he can definitely do it for Arsenal and propel Arsenal to that Champions League final. Trossard likely to start up front. I've seen Mikel Arteta experiment with that in the league. I don't mind Trossard playing up front. I think if we have chances, we just have to be clinical. And we shouldn't be afraid of pressing. We need to press and force them into mistakes because if we force them into mistakes and get into a quick couple of early goals, then will unsettle them. They do have a very good goalkeeper, and this is the business end the Champions League. So you're gonna be coming across good goalkeepers. We just went through Thibaut Courtois. That should give us some confidence. Now we're gonna go against Donnarumma, who is also an incredible goalkeeper. So I think Arsenal needs to be prepared for that. But guys, how is everyone feeling? Emirates needs to be a cold draw. I'm going to be hoping that I can go to that game. I haven't got a ticket yet, so we'll see how that goes. But we've got two matches from Munich, two matches. There's a big statement waiting to be made right now for Arsenal Football Club. This Arsenal team been battered, doubted, but fearless is ready to take on Europe. And this is not by accident. This is 3 years of tactical evolution, of blood, sweat, and tears, of almost coming close in the Premier League. Beg your pardon, not Champions League, in the Premier League, and not getting the prize. Always being the bridesmaid, and not being the bride. So I think this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity for Arsenal. It's a real opportunity, one that I hope that the players are not over overwhelmed with, because this is just another football game. But again, it's not another football game, if that makes sense. You do what you've always been doing as a player. You play your game, you cut out the mistakes. I hope they got that out of their system with that match against Crystal Palace. Because you can have mistakes in the Champions League, because if you do, you get punished. A slip, a dodgy tackle here and there, and that could be it. So I think Arsenal can do it. I'm feeling very confident. What do you think about this game? How do you see Arsenal actually performing in this game? What's your confidence like? What's your starting 11? Who would you play up front? Who are you going to play in number six? Drop that in the comments. All right, that's about it for me on this episode of Guna Pavilion. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button and tell other people who are Arsenal friends. There's a community here. Like I always say, come here for the Arsenal, stay for the family. Take care of yourself. See you in the next one.